Star quality. I got it. I got this. You got it.
You got it.
My chart says so. Look at me go. Sun moon rising. It's all about time. It's all about time. Red lips. What's it all mean? What's it all mean? Star quality.
What's it all mean? What's it all mean? Mean.
Star quality. No, dude, really, what does it all mean? I got it. You got it. You got it. Star quality. Star quality. What's up, Star Party people? Welcome back to Star Quality. I'm your host, astrologer Stevie, and it is the new year. It's 2026. See you later, 2025. It was nice knowing you, I guess, kinda. So now it's a new time. And now, of course, like with the new year, it's the Gregorian calendar. It's not so much of a big impact astrologically, but let's look ahead at what will be a big impact astrologically, because this year, what to say about 2026? 2026 is like 2025's cousin who's like a little more bitchy. um 2025 was like the passive aggressive sort of bitchy. This is just like, I want this. And I say bitchy in a both positive and negative. I think what's really interesting about 2026 is it's a real slight continuation of 2025. So if you have been looking for like, oh my God, when are we just going to flip the energy and it's going to be something totally new and different? It's kind of here this year, but it was also present last year. I talked a lot of last year about how 2025 was this taste test of the future, particularly in the summer into the fall, because that's when we had a lot of the outer planets dipping into new signs and then retrograding back. So it's like we had a moment with these big shifts that we're going to be feeling for decades to come. Now in 2026, those changes are here. They're on. They're not going back to their previous signs. And now we're going to be experiencing a lot of sustained new energy, but we're still very much at the beginning. And when you start at the beginning, you don't know what's going to happen. So that's the other part. I think 2026, we're all going to be learning on the job. We're all going to be seeing how things feel in real time. I think one of the big examples of that is AI currently, right? Like we aren't even in like full regulation phase yet, not to scare anyone, but we aren't, like it just was born. It's the same thing thinking of like Uber, right? Like Uber started and then we didn't like involve like, hey, taxi unions and these things, and or Airbnb, like these quote disruptor sort of things. When disruptors first enter the chat, they disrupt and aren't regulated. Now, again, also culturally, what will that look like? When will regulation come? I have some thoughts. I don't think it's maybe a little bit this year, but a lot more coming in the future. But I want to go month by month and give some key highlight dates on what's happening in 2026. This is the first time I'm doing a full year ahead for star quality. I've done them in the past for my previous podcast, What's Your Sign? And I've done like, written forecasts and things, but this is the first like, okay, let's sit down. Let's have I have my little coffee in my sake cup. I'm here to like sit down and look ahead. And, it's, of course, this is for y'all, but it's also for me. I'm like, dang, like, let's really like sit and meditate with what's coming. But also, it's not so that we can avoid life or avoid the future. It's simply knowledge is power. And I think why use astrology, right, is we want to work with the most auspicious energy available. So let's give it a shot. And it's also good to know, too, similar if it's raining on a trip or it's unexpectedly cold, you want to know what to pack. You want to know a little bit of what to expect or to know to expect the unexpected. So I'm going to go month by month. There will be timestamps if you want to like jump ahead, or if, say, if maybe you're listening to this right in the beginning of the new year, maybe you're listening to this back again in May and you want to jump around and see where things land. You can use this as a reference point for the whole year. I do think, I've been calling this year the new frontier. It's a new frontier. There's still so much more unknown than known. But I think what we do know in our heart of hearts is to evolve. We have to evolve. We are not going back to any sort of, even like, I was going to say pre 2020, but even like pre 2024, we're not going back to a brat summer. But we are going into something totally new and different. And I think those of us who are ready to embrace new and different, and we're all going to be at different phases of our life, right? You might be listening to this as a 20-year-old, are 20-year-olds in college? Some are, I guess. You might be a 20-year-old in college. You might be a 48-year-old mom. You might be, I don't know, doing a bunch of different stuff. Maybe you're in school, maybe you're getting married, maybe you're super single, whatever. And so I guess that's the other reminder too, as I over explain, as a typical natal Mercury and Gemini conjunct Jupiter person, is forecasts, mine, or if you see other ones online, are for the general public. When you get a one on one reading, you're going to get way more information. This is the overall blanket energy. And I will say this is going to be more of the overall blanket societal energy. However, if you have planets really being impacted by the key ones mentioned during this forecast, it might hit extra hard. But they're all these planets are going to be transiting somewhere in our chart. And so I think about that too. Wherever these planets are going through your house. Oh, I need to do an individual forecast for y'all, don't I? Okay. Okay. Rex Knuckles. I'll do it. That'll be coming up. Stay tuned. But also, if you want to book a one-on-one reading with me, I'd love to see you for your chart session and get you set up for 2026. But yeah, we are on the cusp of change, and it really is an evolve or die time. And Uranus and Neptune, we had a taste of them. Uranus and Gemini, Neptune and Aries. And then same with Saturn, though that's not as long as these outer planets. Saturn is a social planet, also had that taste test of Aries. So they've all been hovering in this newness and then teetering back and forth. But now everything is really going into an entirely new timeline. Yeah. So, partially saying this for myself as well. It's like trying to go back to anything from before is like a fool's task. And with this new frontier and this new place to explore being your life and what you want to do with your life, there's a lot of unknowns, but there's also a lot of chance to like write new rules and set new standards and set the tone of how you want to enter this new era. So we'll get into the month by month. You can skip around or listen in full. And I will note before we get into January 2026, that I feel 2026 has two distinct eras. There's going to be before May, the month, and after May. Before May is going to feel like a different year. After May will feel like its own thing. And I don't know about you, 2025 had the same sort of vibe. First chunk of the year was like its own 2025.1 A, B. 2025 from like end of May onwards when we had that glimpse of outer planet changes followed by eclipses was like night and it was like just two really different time periods. And maybe it's also like the Uranus and Gemini of it all with duality and being able to contain a bothness, which we'll talk about more once we get into Uranus moving back into Gemini in April. That's why May onward is the real marked point of if you haven't embraced some newness, career pivot, relationship upgrades. And again, too, I think I've a lot of this astrology is encouraging really big risks for bigger rewards and to, maybe get out of what you consider safe because it's maybe not as safe as you even thought. However, let me asterisk all of this. This is for entertainment purposes only. Do no harm. You have free will. This is not legal advice. This is just a reflection of the energy we're feeling on earth from the stars above, right? That newness can still exist in existing systems. If you're in a relationship that's been really hitting a like funky dead end, whatever, this could be the time to breathe new life into that, right? However, that looks for you. Same with your job. Maybe if you've just been so emotionally attached, maybe it's time for like therapy and not bringing your work home with you. There's just, it's like a real new invite to even how we think about how we do things, on top of just even the doing of the things. So before May and after May, I also divided the months for those who with limited attention spans out the gate, our clearest months versus our clunkiest months. And clunky and clear, again, clear doesn't necessarily mean good. Clunky doesn't necessarily mean bad. Clear meaning there's not much commotion planetary wise. There is just like, there's nothing planetary to really blame. I guess I should also say with the clear months, right? Like there's just kind of, they're just going. I have January, May, June, September, and December. So if you want to like start looking ahead for vacations or goals or this or launches, like those are now putting a huge umbrella over a generalized energy, but those are the ones that look like when we zoom out, like okay, those are like the least fucked with by the planets. The clunky month, the clunky munch, and the clunky bunch. The clunky bunch of months, those are February, March, April, July, August, October, November. I'd say those clear and clunky, clearest and clunkiest. Now, again, there's some days I love in the clunky months. There's some days I don't love in the clear months. We'll get into why really soon. Big highlights to talk about ahead. We have a Venus retrograde later this year during peak wedding month, by the way. So we'll talk about that. We have Jupiter moving into Leo. We have Uranus moving into Gemini, Neptune moving into Aries. There's a lot happening this year. So we're going to get into the planetary ingresses, the big major moments of the months, also some of the major aspects too that are also influencing. Will this be every single thing of 2026? I mean, there's just no way. Will it be a good bird's eye view of the year? Absolutely. So let's get into it. And this is going to be for everyone. This is a free for all episode. So if you enjoy this, if you just have been supporting me and my work over the years, please consider upgrading your subscription and joining my third space. This is the paid subscriber tier. So for $7.77 a month. So for buying me an iced coffee, you can get all the weekly horoscopes, all the paywall stuff. I think I might do the sign by sign breakdown paywall. That's coming, etc. So yeah, this is an independent platform, user supported, and also I am running a 25% off sale until 111 until January 11th, 2026. So you could get your flat yearly thing for the whole year at 25% off. Same with the monthly membership, 25% off. So check it out. Or you can become a founding member for $111 for the whole year. You get a free 15-minute consult. You get discounts off readings. So if you're also one of my regular readings people, it's also a steal and a deal. So think about maybe like, I don't know, canceling one of your corporate subscriptions you don't like as much and giving it to your favorite independently curated astrologer. That is me. If you found me in Substack land and haven't joined me on other socials, please do. I'm spaghetti_witch on Instagram, on TikTok. TikTok's been my fave of late. Where else am I? Like, I think those are the two main apps. This is all on YouTube too. You can listen. This is a video episode. We're going to get into all the major happenings of the year, the major planetary ingresses, some major aspects, the Mercury retrograde, Venus retrograde, the eclipses. So we'll take a peek at the energy month by month. And let's start with January, which is on one of the less clunky sides of 2026. I've been thinking about January's theme, and it really feels about getting what you want. Again, easier said than done, but there's just so much emphasis with Venus and Mars that continues even into February. And being co present with the sun, there is a lot really rooted around getting honest with the things that may feel like they're lacking and the things that you're ready to see more of. Of course, January kind of already naturally goes with goals and intentions and setting a new tone for the year. And then, of course, then people are like, and then I fell off of that thing or whatever. So I think January actually has the potential to maintain those targets and for what you're looking for. And I think if there's something that's really been on your life bucket to do list, even if it's you setting that plan for later in the year, this is really the time to just like, if you've always wanted to visit the pyramids in Egypt or whatever, it's like it's buying the ticket and maybe getting something that's refundable in case you do have to edit plans or change things. If you've always wanted to sign up for pottery class or something, it's like, it's just like doing it. And these are like kind of relatively low stakes examples, but apply that to your life. And if it's just been feeling like it's been sitting and waiting to be seen through and done, that January really is the time to let it go. And by letting it go, like letting it go forward. So first things first is as soon as we start off the new year, January 1st, it's our first new year with no personal planet retrogrades, no Mercury retrograde, no Venus retrograde, no Mars retrograde, just us, baby. And that hasn't happened since 2022. It's been a while. We've started every new year funky, slow, not into it. So, on top of starting this new year really with like a direct, let's fucking go energy, on January 1st, Mercury moves into Capricorn. So, Mercury is our planet of connections, communication, processing, exchanging information. And it's in this very ambitious, motivated, can climb any mountain sign of Capricorn. We also have a full moon in Cancer that first weekend. We have it on Saturday, the 3rd. And starting our first lunation of the year with this beautiful big full moon in Cancer about where we feel safe, where we feel protected, where we are with our people. There's a real what's coming with me and in 2026 and what's staying behind in the past. And it can even just be your thoughts around like, I'm sick of always being the planner. Like, I want to be invited this year. Or like, I'm always like, I think Cancer and Capricorn can really highlight where we overgive or overtake. And so this is going to be a real system calibration during the month of January. Now, what's really interesting is that first full week of January, like the 5th through the 11th ish, is like Venus Mars fest. It's wild because we're going to have the sun conjunct Venus, Venus conjunct Mars, then the sun conjunct Mars. Then also we're dealing with some Jupiter oppositions as well. Jupiter is still in Cancer, which it will be until the summer, which we'll get there when we get there. And then also Mercury, also with Capricorn. So we have the sun, Venus, Mars, Mercury, all in Capricorn. This comes back to this theme of getting what you want because Mercury, Venus, Mars are all of our personal planets. So the planets closest to Earth that we see with our naked eye, they're here with the sun, this place of our vitality and who we are essentially. And so Venus, our planet of values, Mars, our planets of needs, and Mercury, our planet of how we're expressing ourselves, are all here with the sun in this conscious identity place, kind of close to Pluto, but Pluto's still in Aquarius. But this is all going to catch up once we get into Aquarius season because this group is heading towards Aquarius eventually. But they're all together and they're here this month and they are like, I see it, I want it, I get it. I'm sick of not getting the things that I'm looking for. I'm sick of not hitting my goals. This could even really be, Capricorn gets a lot of stereotypes about like being a boss and CEO energy and whatnot, but also bosses know how to delegate. So this could be maybe hiring, maybe you need that fitness instructor to really like hold you accountable. Maybe it is time for a financial advisor. Maybe it is time to body double with a friend that's also a creative partner that, like you both want to launch podcasts. So like, let's like sit and have like creative work time. This is like really about getting responsible with your time because Saturn because Capricorn is connected to Saturn. It's connected to plans on the calendar, literal things that we do. It's an earth sign. So this is also a bit about like knowing where we've been distracting ourselves, where we haven't really given it all we've got. Self read, self read for myself, self read for everybody. And it doesn't mean we always have to be, chasing or trying to climb every single mountain. But this is a real like what has really been ignored that needs to be prioritized. And for everyone, it's going to look like something different. On January 18th, we have a new moon in Capricorn. So this is going to be our first new moon of the year. So also supercharging that Capricorn energy about our ambitions and goals and drive. But the real big shebang of January, and now maybe I'll nominate it to like move to in between clear and clunky. It's kind of a both is, but we'll still keep it clear because I think things are clarifying in January. Is the big kahuna is Neptune moves back into Aries. Neptune moves back into Aries on January 26th, 2026. And that is going to be until May 21st, 2038. And then there's some retrograde happening. Then it's all the way till 2039. But let's just say we are firmly will be in Neptune and Aries until 2038. So January is our last month with Neptune and Pisces in our lifetime. We've had Neptune and Pisces since 2011. There was a retrograde moment, then it fully entered in 2012, and it's been here since. Neptune is the planet of ethereality, the dream realm, what's real, what isn't. And it's home in Pisces. Pisces is similar themes. It's about art, spirit, creativity, expression. Neptune is said to be the higher octave of Venus, also connected to like the romantic side and love and expression and really our imagination. And so it's been home in Pisces. And yeah, we've seen a lot of culture and growth. I mean, the golden age of television, which has come and went, and also a little bit of it too, of like everyone being able to have the dream, right? This I feel like adds a universalness here. And then Neptune Aries is definitely a wake up call of what I hope is individuality. Pisces being the final sign can sometimes indicate conformity or like it's so group oriented, everybody and everything that it can feel like a little too much everybody and everything. And now Neptune's in Aries here, and it's going to be in this out of sign conjunction with Saturn. Neptune and Saturn have been together for a hot minute. This is one of the key aspects of the year is this Saturn Neptune conjunction. The last time we had a Saturn Neptune conjunction was in the late 80s, around the time the Berlin Wall fell. This just blankets the whole rest of the year because Saturn and Neptune are also going to continue to be together. Is when Saturn, the planet of structure, clear plans on the calendar, clear advancements, knowing where we're going, rules, is with the planet of ethereality and what's real and what's not. The planet about realness and the planet about confusion are together. And so I feel like every time I keep hearing from folks, like, when are things going to make sense? When are things going to be clear? When am I going to know what path to take and this and that? It's like, babe, the path is foggy. The path is really foggy. Nothing is clear right now. And Saturn and Neptune together is the biggest ask in being present. We can only control what's in front of us right now. And Aries, especially, I always lovingly joke that Aries has like goldfish brain. Aries is painfully present. It is very about the now, the moment, the immediacy, what is in front of me in this here. I'm not thinking that much further about the big zoomed out grand Pisces things. I'm thinking about now. And so that's also the invitation for everyone is to really pay attention to the now. These goals and these trajectories and these career paths and these relationships, you're preparing for a future that doesn't even exist. So what can you do right now? And also know that those things, career, love, whatever, friendships, family, it's going to evolve with you. You're not fitting into a predetermined timeline. You're making it as you go. And that's what Saturn and Neptune are going to do, especially when Saturn moves into Aries next month in February, which we'll get to. So the beginning of January really is about getting clear on your deal breakers, what you definitely need, what you're definitely ready to get rid of. And that's all building to this new dream alignment that's coming when Neptune moves into Aries and when we're really just in that world. And of course, this is 2026. This year is going to unfold. But if you can do anything in January, I think it's really about making sure that you're prioritizing the things that you need, because especially like all that Capricorn energy is opposing Jupiter and Cancer, and Jupiter and Cancer can sometimes give too much away. And it's great to have that generosity, but there is some ebbs and flows and check-ins of when it's time to maybe keep some things for ourselves if it's just feeling like there's been an imbalance. Okay, I don't know if you guys can hear this in my recording, but as I'm just wrapping up January, this huge murder of crows just flew by my window, and there's one sitting on the telephone line, and it's raining. It's so dramatic and beautiful. And so if you've listened here before, if an animal appears or something, a sign, a symbol, we're going to look that up because that's going to be infused into our forecast. So crow symbolism is about intelligence, adaptability. They're also like jokesters, and they have great memories, and they bring gifts, and they have, yeah, like that. Their color black too is like that protective, connected to the death and spirit realm energy as well, and change and transformation. Also too, thinking of them as like these kind of funny guys with their groups that, Capricorn energy isn't credited enough for its humor. And it's like, especially its dark humor. And I think too, you know, not to spiritually bypass, but instead of like feeling bad for yourself or checking yourself out, it's like, how can we transmute pain into power? And I think that's what the crows gave us for our January. Let's get into February. If I had to give February a tagline, it would be things are happening. What are the things? We're going to find out. A lot of things are undergoing renovation and transformation. Speaking of transmuting pain into power, on the first day of February, we have the full moon in Leo. Gorgeous. Love it. Which is feels like continuing also on to that connection of self and who am I. Just a reminder, too, there will be full lunation breakdowns, which have always existed on Star Quality, but will continue into 2026. So there'll be full moon and new moon episodes about working with that lunation energy. So if it feels like I'm brushing over the lunations, there will be more to come about those lunations when we get into the actual live lived time experience. Because what's funny? It's funny doing this forecast, taking a break here in February already, only in month two, where like, sometimes people ask me like, oh, how far ahead do you plan or use this? And it's like, I'll look ahead generally, but I do like to like live my life in real time and experience the astrology for myself. But I also want to make like plans for launches and vacations and help people plan weddings and things with astrology. So I think it's good, but in terms of like, oh my god, I'm going to cross off this week for my list. It's like, well, I don't know until I get there too, right? And once we get there, we're going to know so much more about where we're at. And what's happening now is that cluster of planets that were in Capricorn, of course, the Sun, Venus, Mercury, Mars, now they're all with Pluto, where January was maybe a little bit more low key, like, what's the word? Like building success, like in silence or whatever, like this feels a little bit more now, ta-da, now, ta-da, ready to present. This is going to be our first month with Mercury retrograde. It's not till the end of the month. We'll get into it, but we are going to have Mercury enter its pre-shadow period on February 11th. And this is going to be a Mercury retrograde in Pisces. All of our Mercury retrogrades are going to be in water signs this year. Um, that's how the configuration goes when the planetary bodies are making their movements. Last year, 2025, is Mercury retrograde started in fire signs and retrograded back into water. So there are going to be themes tied into last year's Mercury retrograde. So when I go over those as the year comes, I'll link those back to the original articles about those Mercury retrogrades so we can look back at those times. But this is going to be happening in Pisces, and we'll dive more into it once we get closer to the end of the month. So the shadow starts on February 11th, and then the Mercury retrograde is going to be on February 25th. Just heads up. And that's going to go until March 20th. So you have most of February, our short month, to work in the non retrograde energy. But there's a lot of other stuff going on this month. This month is really big. February is like whatever, just like regular, maintaining, like, oh, okay, I'm just doing life things in January. February is like, nah, like what if all that maybe switched? The biggest switch that's coming is on February 13th. We're going to have Saturn now move into Aries. Huge. So if you've had Saturn and Pisces in your natal chart, you are done with your Saturn return. Congratulations. That started back in March 7th, 2023. Then we had a retrograde moment where we had Saturn and Aries for a little bit last year. And now she's back. So Saturn is now in Aries and it's going to be in Aries until April 12th, 2028. So if you are also born with Saturn and Aries in your natal chart, congratulations. You're fully starting your Saturn return. It did technically start last year on May 24th, 2025, and then went till September 1st. But now it's really like Saturn's in Aries. This is what's happening. Here we go. Now, Saturn's going to be in Aries for the next 3 years. So we're also going to see different themes connected to Saturn and Aries play out. I don't want to say I'm not a political astrologer, but I think just so much stuff in our current political system is so, what's the word? I mean, what is even the word? Fraudulent and stupid. And I'm like, I do consider myself a very politically engaged. Like, I'm a leftist. I don't like the any isms. Like, if you are racist, if you don't believe in a free Palestine, if you insert your XYZ here, like you can, I'm probably not the astrologer for you. And I hate when people say, why do people mix astrology and politics? So there's a lot of astrologers who are like, I'm going to zero in on politics and talk about this stuff in the astro. And that's great. I like listening to that stuff as well. My perspective is like, I'm most people are like regular people who can't really control a lot of these things. And you know, I don't know, I came from just like regular, like single mom and like a deadbeat dad and had to like work. And so like I just know that there's so many people just have to like go out and live life and just try to like hopefully not just survive, but to thrive. Corny, but it's true. That being said, I am a smidge worried only about the craving, especially in the United States, to incite war, only because Aries is our planet connected to war. We've seen past planetary patterns connected to war with Neptune and Aries. I think we've been in a cold civil war for a while now. And I think that might just only intensify, especially since Aries is connected to individualism. Are we going to see a further separation of our states and quote states' rights? I wish I was a smart enough to talk, you know, cohesively about international politics. I can pretty fairly confidently speak about American politics, but yeah, that's my like, I'm just wondering if there's going to be something that is like, oh, well, now we want to do this. I mean, I know California, which I'm not technically fully opposed to, has been like, well, if we're not getting back as much as we pay in taxes, because it's all, all this stuff starts with taxes, then why are we in this country? Why are we part of this union? So I am curious if maybe because it is tax season, I mean, it doesn't get fully filed until April, but if there's starting to be some things that are cut off from other states or things that just don't feel, or maybe some more states start to, I know like many states are on the the edging urge of bankruptcy. So I'm wondering too, if it's starting to see more states in the union start to collapse. And then the general question of then why are we one thing is my curiosity if that conversation, or maybe some places that want to secede. Yeah, that could be here in the US. We could see that movement in other countries. Who knows? But I do think the urge for war will be strong. And we're already seeing, I mean, like they just changed the Department of Defense to Department of War. And like it's like a playbook at this point of distractions from all the wrongdoings of the government. So I think as long as people just keep going back to the truth, because here we go. Aries is the fucking truth, dog. Aries is back to that presenceness, present, being so painfully present that Aries is actually really good at. Again, if you're Aries, like that's hard for me, you're here to learn that in this lifetime. We're always growing more into our natal charts, and we can talk about that in a one-on-one reading. But Aries at its glowiest, at its highest value, is a truth teller. It's the like Dakota Johnson meme. Like, no, that's not true, Ellen. I know she's a Libra. I wonder if she has Aries placements. It's just like matter of fact, like that is not what's really happening. This is this is what I'm actually seeing. This is what I'm actually feeling. And I think the more people share, and even though there's going to be such this juiced up individuality energy, there is a little bit of like strong individuals make a strong collective. And right now, I think a lot of our collective found, hiding in groups or doing the bare minimum acceptable. And again, insert it into whatever realm of life you see fit. But I think there is a bit of breaking off from the pack, saying the truth, and not backing down too. Like I think right now in the rise of authoritarianism and fascism, the way that those take over is when people just give up. And so, like, not fearing being honest about what you're experiencing. And two, I think the era of like influencers and like renting a private jet for like an hour to take photos and then leaving, like that whole like flaunting a fake reality, I feel like feels really done, especially as we're really fully charging into Pluto and Aquarius. Pluto moved into Aquarius in 2020, fall of 2023, where it's going to be for the next few decades. And the fall of celebrity and flaunting wealth in a time where a lot of people don't have that. Yeah, it's just like tacky. So I think that's also going to get extra amplified, especially, and we'll get into it when Jupiter moves into Leo and it's going to pose Pluto. Yeah, lots of, not everyone can be famous. And I think it's going to really be that effect on who is a celebrity and who isn't, and what makes someone special. Back in my day, to be famous, you used to have to be good at stuff, or at least have some charisma as well as like maybe some good looks or what have you. And I feel like while it's cool how anyone can be a celebrity, quote, there's also a little bit of like, well, then what does that do to the value of a celebrity, right? In terms of like money, in terms of payment, in terms of what we will and will not spend on. I'm so curious, like what like celebrity brands will like fold or launch, and it's just like nah. But we'll get to that in the summer. I think anyone's summer onward, it's like huge mistake. So yeah, Saturn's in Aries. That's a huge deal. So February 17th, our first eclipse of the year. And it's in a new eclipse cycle. We are having our first eclipse in the Aquarius Leo cycle. Now, the nodes have not officially moved into Aquarius and Leo yet. I'll fill you in when that comes. But it is our first eclipse that starts off that series. And that eclipse cycle is going to take us all the way into 2028. Our final Aquarius Leo eclipse will be in January 2028. So this is also starting something new, a new next year, 2 year cycle. And yeah, and our cycles and our life and the things that change don't ever happen either in like a vacuum, right? We start one new phase of career, we start one new phase of family, we start a new phase of friendship or whatever it is for you. So new eclipse series downloading as we speak. This is going to be happening in Aquarius at the 28th degree of Aquarius, and that is on February 17th, 2026. So I do say for like new first eclipses, I feel like sometimes those can be extra loud. Um, they are definitely starting something maybe we're not going to see the full picture on, especially this one. We probably won't see the full picture of where the Aquarius Leo eclipses are taking place until 2028. But you can start to peek at your Aquarius and Leo houses. We can talk about that in your one-on-one chart reading and get a vibe of where those areas of life are getting transformed. I'll get more into it when we get to the North Node, South Node changeover. But for now, just be aware There's an eclipse happening on February 17th. And then a few days later, if February couldn't get more exciting, we're having a major, major, major astrological moment on February 20th. So Saturn and Neptune come together every 35 ish years, but they haven't been together in Aries in like 300 years. They're at 0 degrees of Aries. That is the beginning of the zodiac. That is the birth of astrology and ideas and ideals. And back to Neptune, even in a spirituality sense, right? About like spirit and what do we believe, the test of spirit. So February 20th is a huge date for us here in 2026 land, where we're seeing Saturn and Neptune come together at this really kind of like reset moment. This is also to say, you know, of course, on a day, I think this applies to a lot of astrology. And this is how I think of it. Of course, on like the day, say like a February 20th, the Saturn Aries conjunction, huge. But we're going to be feeling that plus minus, the week before and after. So I would say too, with like news stories or things like that, not to be like, see, it fits. But I do think like that energy, it's not like contained to 24 hours, right? Like it's not just like, oh, okay, just this thing, it's like the same if an earthquake happens. It's like there's going to be aftershocks, right? And I think that's going to be the peak magnitude when we'll see stuff. I mean, I'm so curious what will happen that day. Um, like, whoa, cool. It's like I'm so curious what will happen that day. I mean, I am because I just think that this really, if anything, even if it's not something that we can really like feel and see, it is just I think where we're going to look back and be like things were different. May is the big turning point this year, but also turning point. But then also February 20th, I think is going to be this plus or minus timeline that also greatly, greatly stands out. The last major February checkpoint is going to be the Mercury retrograde. Starts on February 25th, goes all the way until March 20th. We've been in the shadow phase most of February, starting on February 11th. And so that's going to be in Pisces here. So reflecting on the Pisces area of your chart, this whole year is going to be reflecting on our emotional capacity, getting back in touch with our soul, our spirit, and also that we're allowed to not be okay too. I think last year's Mercury retrogrades from fire to water can really show maybe where we put ourselves, where we dampen our glow or put ourselves down or put ourselves out. I had to give myself a big ass fucking pep talk before recording this as well. And so I think too, getting in touch with our spirit, our soul, what connects for us, especially still while the North Node is still in Pisces, because it's going to be wrapping up that chapter. And the North Node really is connected to our purpose and what we're here to do in this earthly go. So February, things are happening. Things are happening. We'll be noticing them happening. January might not be as evident. February will see changes. And maybe again, I think another big question keeps being like, when are we going to get the final, like the economy's collapsed message? I don't think it will be this beginning of the year. Let's keep going and see if it reveals in 2026. Or are we going to still be propping up everything like Weekend at Bernie style to be continued? But let's get into March. Let's go to March. March is somewhat of a continuation of February because March, we're still in eclipse season. Now, eclipse energy, similar to what I mentioned earlier, we can feel that eclipsiness plus or minus 2 weeks before and after. So that eclipse that we had back in February, so on February 17th, when we had the solar eclipse or our new moon eclipse in Aquarius, we're still in that zone. We're still feeling the portal realm of things are brewing, changing, doors opening, doors closing. I would say February 17th probably feels more like a door opening because it is the beginning of a new eclipse cycle. Right away in the beginning of the month of March, we have a full moon total lunar eclipse on March 3rd, 2026 in the sign of Virgo. This is not our last full moon lunar eclipse with Virgo. We're going to have another one in 2027. lunations like this are really about our release. So this could be more of the door close moment, especially because we're also in Mercury retrograde. Mercury is the planet connected to Virgo. So also about information, maybe things leaking, uh, data breach, some like there seems to be, I think March could be where information, I'm going to call this the wires crossed month. It's giving who's doing what, where's going why, who's in charge of that. Maybe there is, especially because eclipses can be connected to big figures, leaders, kings and queens. There could be a switch of the guard or starting to see some people coming in, some people coming out. But there's definitely like a wires crossed energy to March that also begs for us to maybe just keep the receipts, pay attention, and not it's like not over planning either. Having some flexibility and adaptability. We're going to have a Mercury retrograde Kazemi. So that's when Mercury is in the heart of the sun days after this eclipse. So on March 7th, we'll have this really uh, illuminated Mercury retrograde, a very Mercury retrograde day. So if you're traveling or, and here's another good point to talk about with Mercury retrograde, because I think people are like, what should I do? What shouldn't I do? We have 3 to 4 a year. What can you do? So goes life. We don't always have Mercury retrogrades around eclipses, though. And so this can also just be finding out information that changes things that unlocks something for you, whether again maybe it's something that's secretive or just like something that unlocks from your soul where you're like, I don't want to live this way. I want to go this totally new route. And so until we have the next new moon, which is on March 18th, a new moon in Pisces, which will still be Mercury retrograde. Mercury retrograde doesn't end until March 20th. March is so about reflection and taking in, if January was like, I'm doing it, I'm going, then February is like, things have changed, things are different. Remember how we've been talking about 2025? We're not in 2025. We're not even in 2024. We're not even in 2023. We're not in 2018. We're not in 2012. We are in a totally new timeline. So March really is the time. And it makes sense, right? We're in the third month of the year. We'll have the astrological new year on the 20th. On March 20th is when Mercury stations direct. Oh, does it go direct before the sun switches signs? Let me check. Yes. So we'll be entering the astrological new year still in that Mercury retrograde, though it ends later in the day. But so also connected to starting this. This is our new year, astrologically speaking. Happy New Year. This is when we start Aries season, 0 degrees Aries. So this is when things are thou. We're in a new, spring. We're starting. It's cardinal season. It's cardinal fire. While the urge to initiate is strong in this time, usually, I would really in March like collect the info, live the experiences. And I think March 20th, once we're out of that Mercury retrograde, which it looks like it switches like midday when we have like the sun goes into the Aries earlier in the day and then Mercury retrograde ends. I would say March 20th on is much clearer pivoting, redirection, actually, this sort of window. And also, too, if you didn't have a breakup back around Valentine's Day when Saturn and Neptune came together, this is like, if you're like giving it one more college try, this is the like, no, 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 no. This is the clarifying card. And after March 20th, after, we move into the astrological new year, Mercury goes direct. On March 26th, then the sun and Saturn also conjoin too. So there's a real like kind of getting back to January's energy, or at least like the drive of January towards the end of March, when once we get out of sort of like maybe some false realities, some fantasies, some distractions, or also, with Mercury retrograde, like it can be a really good time to retreat, to discover, to go. Of course, when traveling, be mindful of delays and miscommunications, but also this can really be a great time for reflection. and getting out of the normal day-to-day routine and responsibilities. I'm going to rename March from wires crossed to uncrossing wires. We are undoing where we're not clear. Because this is also how I think about Mercury retrogrades, which maybe some people don't feel this way. This is how I feel about it. But let's just say Mercury in Pisces, right? That's where we have the Mercury retrograde. Mercury in Pisces typically is very like flowy, poetic, maybe not great with its words and more about the feelings. I think of retrogrades as subverting the energy. I think if someone's born with Mercury in Pisces retrograde, they may be clearer than ever. They may be actually able to put to words what's only been living in the feeling. Same with, let's say someone's born with Mercury in Virgo. This is a sharp Mercury. This is like, I see all the details. I cross my T's, dot my I's. But if you're born with Mercury retrograde in Virgo, there might be a much sloppier Virgo vibe happening there. And that is maybe more connected to feeling over the facts. It's like it's kind of giving like the opposite signs energy in a way, if we think about them in that polarity. So I do think that Pisces, I don't know. I know like you'll probably see forecasts that are like Mercury and Pisces retrograde. It's going to be extra, extra, extra fuzzy. And we're all astrologers here, adding our thoughts to the philosophical think tank, right? But I've just keep finding that it subverts the energy, it gives you opposite day. And so if Mercury in Pisces is typically really unclear and about feelings and vibes, this is like, no, I need the facts, I need the details, and I need to know like what we're actually doing. Let's get into April. April is when things change. April is when shit gets different. More towards the end of April, but it's all building up. And so at first I had this month dubbed Show Me the Money. And maybe it will come back to that. But I just changed it to Busy Bee. It's just busy. This is like such a busy bee month. This we start the month, we start the first with a full moon in Libra, very social. Also big, that's why it's connected again to those relationship values and money and those themes of Venusian things. This is our last full-ish month. This is our last moments. And I'll get to it at the end with Uranus and Taurus. Uranus has been in Taurus since 2018. Well, April has a lot of busy energy. It's also like in the encouragement to just not be busy for busy's sake. Like this feels busy, aka productive. We'll have Venus and Taurus squaring Pluto in the beginning of the month, and then also the Sun squaring Neptune, and the Sun squaring Jupiter, the Aries Sun squaring Jupiter in Cancer. So there's like a little bit of a easy does it to start the month. But then halfway through, it sort of switches into a little more of an overdrive because, again, we're out of the Mercury retrograde time. We're post eclipses, post nut clarity. Oh, well. April is I can't call it post nut clarity, can I? Well, if you're listening and you've gotten this deep, you'll know that the real name of the month is post nut clarity. So there you go. So we'll have the full moon on the first. Mercury retrograde is going to leave that shadow period on the 9th. So really the 9th onward is when that post-nut clarity comes into full view. On April 17th, we'll have our new moon in Aries as well. We'll get into the nitty gritty of April once we get to the April forecasts come April. But the big shebang, what I really want to get into is that Uranus leaving Taurus. Uranus is going to move into Gemini on April 25th. It's going to be here until August 3rd, 2032. Uranus was in Taurus since 2018. It was the same thing. Retro like was in mid-May to early November 2018. Then was there once and for all March 6, 2019 onwards. As a Taurus, is this like kind of like corny, whatever? I'm like gonna weirdly miss Uranus and Taurus. I feel like she's just given me so much change and growth and oh my God. And complete, I mean, it's been going through my 11th house. I'm going to write about how Uranus and Taurus completely wiped out most of my friend groups and I'm better for it. Uh, when the time comes, but man, it's going through my 11th house. So really about the future and community and who is there for me and who am I there for back. And just like got married during this time, like just real wild stuff. So if you're a Taurus who has existed during this Uranus and Taurus time, because it won't be back for another 80 full years, many of us will be dead. But the next time, yeah, where these Tauruses who've experienced Uranus and Taurus really are different Tauruses. And I hope the Tauruses are better for it. And again, wherever this is going through, your Taurus part of your chart is also going to be amplified. But yeah, I feel like Tauruses who typically get this like stubborn and dig their heels in and they're so this, I feel like Uranus and Taurus has made so many Tauruses way more flexible, way more about loosening the grip from expectations or what should happen and releasing a lot of the shoulds. Okay, back to animal symbolism, guys, because we have some new animals that have just entered. We have parrots. The famous Los Angeles parrots just flew by my window. So again, when we get an animal visitor, we're gonna acknowledge the symbolism. Parrots are social birds. They talk, which is interesting because we'll get into the Gemini move of it all with Uranus, but also Taurus is connected to the throat. It's our throat centered sign, it's throat chakra. And now Uranus, planet of change and involvement and ingenuity and taking things to new heights, is going from a planet that is connected to the throat and about building the concept right and like really getting centered in what your beliefs are and what your ideas are, and into this really expressive, now it's time to like spread the seeds, to like let it fly, to share what has been inside of you. I feel like it just feels like a really, just like how these signs build on each other. Taurus isn't radically different from Gemini, they're neighbors. So it's a passing of the torch from things that have just been living right in that throat zone into out into out into your keyboard fingers, and whether that is again into writing or performing or podcasting or even just be more expressive with the ones you love, right? Just even if you're just like, I don't do creative pursuits or whatever, though I feel like a lot of people who listen are some form of a creative person or artist. And you don't have to be a capital A artist with paintbrush to be an artistic person or be an expressive creative person. And I think astrology really helps us all tap into our unique perspectives and what the gifts we have and what we really, where we can share our gifts. So back to Uranus, back to all the changes that have happened. So Uranus is now starting a whole new journey. And again, Uranus, I can't remember where I heard this years ago. So if there's a credit for it, please let me know. But I've always heard of it as the kingmaker, king toppler, right? This can really expand your world and it can really tarot card it, like knock it down. And maybe it's a both at the same time, especially with Gemini and duality. So before Uranus moves into Gemini, we're gonna have our last meetup of Uranus in Taurus and Venus in Taurus. It's gonna be at 29 degrees on April 23rd. And 29 degrees, those final degrees can really be strongly impactful days, moments, just really connecting us back to, especially with Taurus, what we want. And Taurus is connected to relationships, money, the things, like it's earthy, and earth in similar with tarot is like the coins. It's like, this is real stuff, real relationships, real jobs, real money, real, pieces of work. If we're trying to like create a book or a movie or whatever it is. And so it's interesting because the days before we have Uranus move into Gemini, so we have this conjunction of Venus and Taurus and Uranus and Taurus at the final, at this end. This feels like a real ending moment. Like, nice knowing you, my Venusian brother. I've been in your sign since 2018, and now my mission's complete in this house, in this realm. And also, if you use Placidus like I do, it might not be switching houses right away, but a sign switch is still major and it's still shifting our energy. So then, okay, so that's April 23rd, right? Then Q a few days later, because we're going to have Venus moving to Gemini. And, and while we're not going to get like an exact conjunction, it's not going to be like, whoa, 0 and 0, which would be epic. But as soon as Uranus moves into Gemini, Venus is also in this new sign. So those days from like April 23rd through that, like when Uranus moves into Gemini on the 25th, that little window is a real switch of maybe it's a new way to make money. Maybe it isn't the budding of a new relationship. Maybe it's the winding down relationship. There is something about like how we're provided for that switching. And also with Gemini, hopefully can be more creative as well. Gemini is here to activate our mercurial sensibilities, and it's going to be doing that for the next friggin' how long is it? 8 years, 9 years. So for 2032, it's like a minute, and then it's going to retrograde as well. Oh yeah, so it's strongly there for like 6 years, and then we'll have some retrograding moments. And we had a taste. Let's go back to and we had a taste. Let's go back to 2025, right? So we had Uranus in Gemini for a hot minute. Uranus was in Gemini from July 7th, 2025 to November 7th, 2025. So that summer where we had a little preview is the last moments that we also got a taste and sampling of what does Uranus and Gemini feel like. Now, again, outer planets aren't as immediate as personal planets, but they are starting just a whole new theme, a whole new realm to be explored and to be developed, especially because Uranus, unlike Saturn, which again, it's not an outer planet, it's a social planet, but let's just compare energy, where Saturn is very steady, dutiful. You just have to do A plus B to get to C. Uranus invites a rebellion, a breaking of the rules, a like skip steps. Like you can actually do things differently. It doesn't have to be so sterile and linear. Like Uranus really presents a non-linear perspective. So April is truly when the new frontier is, if you haven't been feeling it yet, and I've been telling a lot of people in their readings, like, if you need a deadline, if we're moving through 2026, I mean, look, we're almost getting towards halfway through the year already. If you're moving through 2026 and are like, holy fucking shit, I can't do this anymore, I need something new, feel free to embrace April 25th, 2026 as your new deadline. Maybe it's giving a job a try, a city, a this, a that, a blah, da, da. If you haven't already felt the huge shifts of Saturn and Neptune meeting up in February, of the whole March, eclipsey February, March, Mercury retrograde, like this is a real brainstorming time that came before April. And then April might feel like just getting back to motion and back to doing it. But by the end of April, the things that are really ready to see itself out, to adapt, to do something new is there. And again, this could be, depends on what house it is in your chart and what aspects are being made and Uranus and Gemini and all of that. But this is a real, again, can just be evolving in terms of your voice, your style. I mean, okay, let's talk about like bigger thematic things as well. Fucking tech for the next 8 years. It's gonna be a while before, what is the year? I have a prediction. So back to technology, when will things get better, etc. I mean, I think a lot of things are bubbles are bursting, truths are revealing. I think Uranus and Gemini is only gonna hyper speed up some of that burst in truth. I'm just curious, come 2029, this is a while. I'm just putting it here as a timestamp. Come 2029, Uranus is going to link up with the South Node, undoing past lives, previous stories, old portals. And then in 2030, there's going to be Saturn also in Gemini, regulations, rules, laws. I think things in terms of technology are still going to feel very like, why are we doing this dystopian? It's probably solidly until 2029. Because I just don't think that I mean, look at how everything is running. Like it's not like I always say when people are like, oh, when will things get better? It's like, even if we snapped our fingers and every problem we've had politically, globally, socially, financially is like, oh my God, we're going to fix that right now. It would still take so long to implement. So I'm not saying like, oh, that's going to be the starting implementation. I think there's going to be a lot of switches and changes before that. I just don't think we'll really feel those results until 2029, 2030. 2020 I think, is the real pivot turning point from like whatever this vibe is. Cause again, we're in this still new zone of experience and of what it means to be a human being doing this group project called Earth and Life. Did we go to May? It's gonna be May. So May. May is, dare I say, probably the least. There's always something, obviously, but this is definitely one of the least to report months. I am calling May the taking stock month. It's, after a lot of like due diligence go in the beginning of the year, and then like Feb, March, April, we're like adding into this like reassessment vibe and all that. Then May is there. It's now we're kind of just settling into the energy a bit. So like May 1st, we have a full moon in Scorpio. Um, then, I'll get into, I keep saying this every month, but it's just so you know. And then once we do the monthly horoscopes, I'll get into that. But May, the next is like a full moon in Taurus on May 16th. And then we have another, we do a two full moons in the month of May. We have another full moon in Sagittarius on May 31st. So, um, culturally, we call this a blue moon, but astrologically, it's not because it's not the same sign. But we do have a blue moon month for this May. Now, don't get me wrong, there's some things afoot. Of course, we're gonna have different personal planet ingresses. I just want to say those for more like when we have the monthly breakdown. We're gonna have like a Mars square Pluto moment also in the month. So like there is some touchiness, as every month has. Every month is gonna have touchiness in a cranky way, and then also some loveliness. For at the end of May, Mercury will move back into Gemini. We'll have Taurus, Mars in Taurus, which might be a welcome slower pace. Venus in Cancer. So like there's like May, if it's sturdy, it's like very classic Taurus Gemini season. It's just maybe I'm breezing through May, but I of course, we could dig. There's just so much more going on the rest of the month that I want to like really lay into there. So I will say, if there is time to catch your breath, maybe if there has been a lot of commotion, I think May is a really good time to ground yourself, to again take stock, like what's working for you financially and relationships. Where are you liking where you're living? I feel like May, like Taurus and the May energy is like, are you comfortable? Are things feeling good? Even like I just saw like a TikTok of this girl who was like, "Want to know my secret?" And it was like her in these pants, and that like she was spilling over. And then the next one, she like looked so good, and she had these like pants that like were like she just looked so super hot in. And she's like, "Want to know my secret? I bought bigger pants." And so I think it's that too. It's like knowing like, have you outgrown something literally, physically, or figuratively? Do you have a new style? Like, I think Taurus Gemini is really good about what you're into and what you're digging, and like checking into your kind of Venusian mercurial side of what is just feeling like it represents you. So yeah, May, I feel good about May, especially the end of May. It's very solid, and it rolls us into a really nice June. I like a lot of what's happening in June out the gate. June, I'm calling the soul attunement month. It really is quite sensitive, quite the check-in. I'm really into a lot of the things that are happening in June. Well, first off, we have our very nice, lovely, lucky day of the year on June 9th. We have the Venus Jupiter conjunction, both in Cancer. That's just so sweet. That's like, I mean, if you're not doing something romantic or for yourself or for self care on that day, I mean, I would highly recommend working with that energy. This can also be a really great time to maybe ask for, a raise, or like maybe it's time to start even some more like family planning, or like thinking about what you're building with your partner, yourself, your job, your creative practice, whatever that looks like. This is a real like invitation to think about growth and like how generosity begets more generosity, and where maybe have you been being stingy or closed off. Like Cancer can keep score. I think all water signs can be scorekeepers, maybe besides Pisces, because they're just like, what's the score? But if there has felt like you're having to score keep, or like things aren't as reciprocal, this just feels like a real reunification day if things have been feeling far away. This is bringing like, this is very lovey dovey, love forward, ideally. So we love that. I love the June 9th. This is just really about feeling good. So, like, if things by this time in your life aren't feeling as good, it's a real reality check in of like, well, how do we get there? Also, Mercury does go retrograde later in the month in Cancer. So we are going to have that. Our next watery Mercury retrograde. But we're not in the retrograde yet. So we go into the pre shadow on June 12th. And then June 14th, we have a Gemini new moon. Super solid. But what is a really big change, and we've had it here for some time, on June 19th, we have quite a pivot. A new little taste test has entered the villa where we have Chiron going into Taurus. We've had Chiron in Aries for like a hot minute. When did Chiron move into Aries? Like, my God, also like 2018 with some retrogrades in the Pisces and then back, but solidly since 2019. So that's another huge shift. Chiron is our asteroid that we do connect to our pain, our trauma, past life wounds, the things that if we really take care of and if we really heal and, nourish and don't ignore, we can really find ourselves blossoming into really beautiful next chapters. So we're going to have Chiron moving to Taurus until September 17th of this year, until 2026. And then it's going to retrograde back into Aries. And then it's not going to officially re enter Taurus until April 14th, 2027. So we have a little tidbit of Chiron in Taurus. And that is also, I mean, think about like Chiron and Aries since 2018. I mean, if we think about the wound being related to the masculine and like societally seen sort of like this masculine energy response towards pain. And then I'm just very curious what this looks like in a very femme woman centered sign of Taurus. I'm wondering if we're going to see even more like, what's it called? Like the 4B movement, like in Korea, where it's like, we're not having sex with dudes, like they can fuck off. Or like more intentional female femme communities. I don't know. I'm curious. And also, wherever it's transiting in your chart too, is going to be inviting a space to heal that realm. If there has been things that are harder to talk about, harder to say, and really connecting into this really sweet, divine, feminine energy. So that's pretty big. And I like kind of comes back again to that soul attunement that we're going to be checking out a new place in our chart and in the collective's charts of where we need to maybe soften a bit and get back to our senses and touch and pleasure and all the good Taurus stuff. Okay. So June 29th, while this is I like this month with June, it's a very weird day on June 29th because that's the day Mercury goes retrograde, but also Jupiter moves into Leo. Oh my God. That is huge. Jupiter is out of Cancer and we are now in a new Jupiter era. So Jupiter is going to be in Leo until July 26, 2027, and then it will enter Virgo. So we are in the abundant Leo energy era. But I think it's really interesting that we have this Mercury retrograde in Cancer, the sign of the moon, and then Jupiter is being amplified in the sign of the sun on the same day. It's like a real reflection of our own confidence and like how we, especially with Mercury and Cancer, how we speak to ourselves, how we speak about ourselves, and really releasing like any of the petty shit that we've maybe been holding on to in a very Cancerian Leonin way. Because Cancer and Leo can really, since they're reflective, since they are the sun and moon, they can really like stew up a bunch of like drama and like things that they know they shouldn't even like waste their energy on, they love to. They're like addicted to it. It's like it's because they have so much better shit to do, but they can't help themselves. So while this Jupiter and Leo should be like this grand entrance, like, ta-da, I'm here. There's a little bit of like a pity party happening on that day. And maybe, Leo, I know so many Leos who like get sad on their birthday because it's like they want all this, like, it's like such a buildup and attention. And then like it will never play up to the hype in their mind. And I think Cancer and Leo and have that in common of like the fantasy of what love should look like or what admiration should look like. Whoa, buried a little bit of the lead here because June 29th is such a major, major day. We also have a full moon in Capricorn. Just to why not? Just to why not throw that in the mix. So June 29th, just coming back here. Mercury retrograde begins. Jupiter moves into Leo and there's a full moon in Capricorn. That day is just a lot. There's a lot of feelings, there's a lot of ego. There's a real call with a full moon to have a little bit of surrender and a bit of, especially a full moon in Capricorn, it can be so much about like not being able to do it all, and that there's a lot of ego with Jupiter and Leo, a lot of feelings, a lot of the conscious and subconscious, the sun and moon, like all of that energy is really cranked up June 29th. So it's just a very, after a lot of check-ins and pauses, and maybe it's like even for people who felt like they made a lot of progress with something, maybe it's in therapy or that whatever in June. June 29th might be and the days around that might be quite a test for us all. And that's what then takes us into July. And July, I think, is a very cranky month. And I'll get into it in just a second. But I'm excited about Jupiter and Leo in general. Going through my second house of money. So I'm hoping that aligns for me. I just getting out of Jupiter and Cancer in my first house. And a lot of feelings. C'est la vie. But yeah, Jupiter and Leo is, I think, what's interesting, and we'll get there once it's a little later, but it's eventually going to link up with the South Node, which I have questions about. It's going to oppose Pluto, which it's already going to be starting to do then. No, let me check. Pluto is in an early degree. We already immediately getting this opposition from Jupiter and Mercury retrograde right there out of sign in Cancer. So there's just like a little bit of, it can be just a little bit of like the ask is to like kind of get over ourselves, but there might just be a little bit of pity party that's happening end of June, early July. And we'll get into the July stuff. But overall, I really like June. I think it's very like soft and nourishing and like there's like an ease, fingers crossed to it. And then July is like very I don't know, something about July. I have questions about July. Let's just get into July. Okay, so here's the deal with July. So because this Mercury retrograde started days before July started, we're already starting off the month Mercury retrograde. But again, we have 3 to 4 Mercury retrogrades a year. Like life doesn't have to stop because it's Mercury retrograde. But in Cancer, which can be just so like about repressed feelings and emotions and family and community and our units, I feel like Cancer of all the retrograde signs can be the most, maybe it's me as a Cancer rising projecting, but I feel like Cancer, or that I can see it too clearly, is just Cancer can be just tough, it's cardinal water. It wants to talk about it. So like if things feel like they're sitting bubbling beneath the surface, this is when things can come out. Even if you didn't plan on that being the case. Okay. So yeah, we're starting July, with Mercury not in its typical happy place, and especially in Cancer, which feels everything. July, there's honestly just so many aspects happening. Like all the planets are just like ping pong interacting with each other. Like again, just tune in when we get closer to the date because we'll go over it. But the main thing out the gate that is definitely a wee alarming wouldn't be, I would say, is probably the The day I'm definitely like eyeing as is the Mars conjunct Uranus day on, you guessed it, the 4th of July, which is a Saturday weekend. I don't like fear mongering. However, let's just talk about the symbolism of Mars and Uranus. Mars, war, battles. Mars is also connected to cutting. It can be connected to blood. It can be connected to poking. Mars is our planet connected to martial energy. Uranus is about chaos, is about unexpected things. It's about, yeah, revolutions. It's very symbolically a 4th of July in like a historical context, but it's 2026 and things are really fucked up. So I'm like, what does that mean? Conjunction, they are amplifying each other. Mars and Uranus are working as a team, they are one. For me, I'm not even like a 4th of July a celebrator. I would probably stay low key personally on that day. Even just that can be just accidents too. Like your fucking firework blows off your finger, which I mean happens like all the fucking time to everybody. ATV accidents, you know what I mean? Like I would err on caution on Saturday, July 4th. And it's really like one of the few days this year where I'm like, okay, I'm really gonna like bubble wrap myself a little bit and just maybe avoid spaces that are too overstimulating for me personally. So, the last time we've had some Mars Uranus interactions, there were like assassination attempts and stuff like that. So, it wasn't the exact transit, but similar players in the chat. So, right out the gate, we have Mercury retrograde and we have this very symbolic Mars conjunct Uranus vibe on the 4th. So, it's a bit much. We also have a Mercury Cazimi on Sunday the 12th. The Mercury retrograde Cazimi in Cancer. Mercury retrograde, Mercury Cazimi is when Mercury is in the heart of the sun, so it's super amplified. So we're also coming off of like that will also be part of this like messaging. I'm just like, I mean, I'm just maybe traumatized from living in this country. I'm like, I just feel like the hateful rhetoric. I just am afraid, especially because like Cancer has been connected to home and family. Like again, evil people are working with the astrology too, whether they know it or not. And let's like flip this on its evil perspective. Like this can really be about immigration, who belongs here. Like we're already seeing and feeling it, but I feel like there's something here that feels like mega amplified, or maybe like a bigger thing that comes out about these concentration camps and detention centers. And I like, I keep wondering, not even on an astrological point of view, just as a human being, like, and again, it feels like we're in a lawless time. So I don't know. But it's like, aren't these places just going to get sued like over and over? Like, I just think about like, I live in Los Angeles. Our city payout for like police brutality is like off the charts. Like, our city isn't, I don't even know what the city's going to do. It's like in beyond deficit. I just think about this with all these arrests. Like, how many beyond the like actual crimes committed to these people who are undocumented, the like US citizens they keep arresting and torturing and XYZ. There's just something here where I'm like, that's my hopeful spin is like maybe this will like finally like get something like I don't know wrapped up there, but I'm being quite hopeful in this hellscape. July 14th, we have a new moon. Also, Mercury's still retrograde. Mercury's going to be retrograde all the remainder of Cancer season. It's not going to go direct until July 23rd, and we will be in Leo season with the day after Leo season begins. And then, super huge news, we are going to have the nodes shift officially. The North node will move into Aquarius, and the South node will move into Leo. So, North Node in karmic astrology and evolutionary astrology is seen as like our North Star. It's our purpose, it's where we're heading towards. And so, we are being asked to head towards an Aquarian energy. It was all Pisces, North Node for some time, and now it's Aqua time. Aquarius really is about eccentricity, community, radicalism, rebellion. it's just the internet. It's about technology. Aquarius is very forward thinking and very much about the we. The South node that is releasing is in Leo. Leo is very much about the self and, not that it's funny because there's like a lot of astrology here that's like really about us and being more forward of who we are. But this is also like, again, about a little bit of this ego check, ego death stuff that's happening as well. So we'll see. This South node's also going to like be sitting right on um our quote leader's ascendant at this time. And so, anyways, I am just wondering, a lot of people are like, when is the economy going to be like officially called as crashed? I'm just wondering if it's this July time period or like when does like what are the Q2 dates like in terms of like business and reports? Like Q2, what months are Q1, Q2, etc. I wrote those business horoscopes last year, but I cannot remember off the top of my head. Okay, yeah. So the second quarter is start or the third quarter starts July 1st. I would think by Q1 and 2, we will know a lot more. And I think that's why I think a lot of these, I feel like there's going to be like a lot of distractions in July from the truth or attempting to distract from some sort of truth. So I don't love that. There is a nice day. I do like this day at the end of the month on July 29th when we have this Sun Jupiter conjunction. Um, just feels like like if July was a little dumpy and frumpy and a little emo and sad, it feels like a real quest back to finding some joy. And I know like I just got like was like Leo release, but like this is a call to like that Leo energy and like what does it make you feel? What makes you feel like yourself and what makes you feel whole and good? So July, I don't know. I'm keeping an eye on the July. I feel like it's like the most emotionally draining month. It's big summertime sadness vibes. But again, doesn't mean we can't have good days in that July, right? It's just on the whole, on the nose. It's a bit much. Yeah, I'm gonna call July. This is just gonna have a phrase. It's a lot. Just gonna it's a lot. That's our phrase. It's a lot. So we can go into August. Okay. August. Eclipse season. Hello. You thought it'd be chill. August is in the clunkies, but it's maybe my favorite clunky. Mm, yeah. I'm also become like an eclipse apologist. I think that eclipses they're only accelerating and shutting down, accelerating starts and winding on things that must, that are due, that we're ready for. So, and for most of us regular civilians, we're going to have just a boring regular day. But in celebrity news and political news, eclipse seasons are definitely it's definitely a keep your eyes out time. And so let's just start first with on August 6th, we'll have Venus move into Libra. So I know I haven't mentioned any of the other Venus ingresses much because again, we'll dig into the personal planet ingresses on the monthlies. But Venus and Libra, the reason I'm bringing it up is because we want to note this. We're going to have Venus retrograde in Libra. So she's important. So I would say from August 6th forward, of course, the actual shadow starts on August 31st and not until later in the month. But either way, I think as soon, of course, like the shadow is when we like technically start tracking, like, ooh, what's coming up around that time. But I will say, once the sign just ingresses into the sign, I just like to note it, I like to just go like, okay, well, that started then keeping my eyes peeled, or like seeing what themes come up. But Venus and Libra, relatively lovely transit. However, Venus and Libra is going to have an extended stay and also a very challenged stay once we get into October, but we'll talk about it. Okay. So we have new eclipses, if you recall. Well, actually, before I get to that eclipse, on August 11th, just want to highlight Mars moves into Cancer, and it's our first time having Mars in Cancer since last year's Mars retrograde, which featured Mars in Cancer. So, looking back there, where there might have been some spaces that healed around that topic, or I'm natal Cancer Mars. So I'm like looking forward to a Mars return that is not a retrograde. That was difficile. That was, yeah, it was a little much for me. Sound off how that Mars retrograde was for you, but yeah, it's our first time getting back into that energy without it retrograde and offers some new reflection as well. But then following day on the 12th is when we have a new moon total solar eclipse in Leo, which is also our first in the Leo portion of our new eclipse series. So we had the Aquarius one earlier in the year. And now it's our first Leo one. Now also with Jupiter in Leo. And okay, like what I'm very curious what the celeb news is going to be because Leo, we definitely connect to celebrity culture, royals, even politicians will fall into this. So we're gonna have like Mercury, Jupiter, obviously the sun and moon because it's a solar, a solar new moon eclipse, and then of course the south node because it's where we find our eclipses. I'm curious. I'm very, very curious what will. I feel like, I mean, of course, it can be like breakups and deaths and resignations and like that sort of thing. It can really help someone star, take off. And then for others, it can really knock them down a peg and be some truth bombs being illuminated. Um, I feel like also with Leo, I'm just getting a download of like maybe someone like copying someone's work or like swagger jacking or like, I don't know, even like a Milli Vanilli sort of vibe of like lip syncing or something. Like it just feels like you are the star we were promised. I think for August, my like theme, my keywords, I'm gonna call this like untapped potential or tapping into potential. Untapping into untapped potential. Tapping untapped potential. There we go. That's what we're calling it. And I think like there's all the tools to really let it be. But yeah, eclipses again, I can like while they can be a lot, I feel like I don't know, because like a lot of the times with the folklore around eclipses is like, don't work with them. It's chaotic energy and you don't know what you're channeling. It's kind of like asking the genie and you have to be really, really specific. So like I don't manifest during eclipses, but I kind of like it as these checkpoints of like, well, I'm giving it up to God. I'm giving up to the universe. Whatever's going to stay is going to stay. Whatever's going to go is going to go. And so it's kind of, I like that even in astrology, similar to like the 12th house, the space of the unknown, that we can leave space to like be like, I actually can't even harness this. It harnesses me, and I'm just gonna see where it spits me out and where it puts me. And again, some people have way more, wow, this is building me up and taking me somewhere new eclipses. And for others, it can be like, oh, what the fuck? Um, but yeah, I think the untapped potential part is that South Node in Leo, that there is a star in there that you got the goods and to like really let it shine. So first eclipse is on the 12th. Our second eclipse is on August 28th. So we have the full moon partial eclipse in Pisces. So that whole August window, the plus and minus 2 weeks before Leo and the plus and minus after Pisces, it's all there. And that Pisces too, adds a different energy. It adds like an emotionally rooted, feelings based point of view. Also, to be like nostalgic as hell, it's our last eclipse in Pisces. What the heck? Our first one we had in the series was back in, oh my God, September 17th, 2024. Yeah. Wow. I can't even, like, my brain. What a different era. Guys, we live in the wildest timeline. I'm telling you, I'm so thankful we're here together. I'm so thankful. That's the thing that gets me through anything. Earlier, when I was recording, there was like some like hazmat like gas leak or something happening by my house. And all I was thinking was like, well, I live like in a city with millions of people. So I guess we'll just like figure it out together. All's fine, all's well. But this is my 11th house, Aquarius collective brain. I'm like, well, we all have to do this, right? Um, so yeah, it's our last one in Pisces. It's not our last in the series. We're gonna have one more eclipse in the Pisces Virgo zone on February 20th, 2027. I mentioned that earlier with the Virgo eclipse. But yeah, I'm kind of nostalgic. This is my nodal return with Pisces. So I'm like, dang, on to the next one, on to the reversal in some years from now. So yeah, I would say August is really about this untapped potential to really like let yourself go big, feel it all, just enjoy. It's like where July was like summertime sadness. I feel like August is like, fuck it, no rules. Again, do no harm. August is like, I can actually do whatever the fuck I want. Who's no one's judging me but me. And it's like a real embrace. And then that Venus shadow starts on August 31st. So that is August. I kind of, again, clunky, but I like it. Same with February. It's like another clunker that I like a lot. And there's like a lot of beautiful supportive days in August. So let's look at September. September time. September, one of the clearer months for sure. I would say May and September are probably our most, in a good way, not too noteworthy, like kind of like blank slate of potential. And so I'm calling September go for it, mainly because Venus retrograde starts the next month, October 3rd. And then we have Mercury retrograde too. So September is a little bit of like last call for alcohol um, before things are kind of tougher all the way till mid-November. So I would say like, especially if you have plans for like the fall, winter, getting those things together in September or yeah, like it just feels like a very receptive time. I don't know. And also September always gives me the back to school, it's Virgo and Libra energy. It's very like it's good student. And so I think this is just like really like whatever you want to use this month for is supportive for that. The first day starts with a Mars Saturn square, which is a little like cranky, but it's like whatever. I don't know. Like it's like things square sometimes, but malefic square sometimes, like tis what it is. Although maybe I'm just used to September being so charged because this is where we've usually been having the Virgo Pisces eclipses. So it's like I feel like it's the first September in a while that's not juiced up by eclipses. We had them in August because they're moving earlier because we're moving into a different season of eclipses. So on September 10th, we have our new moon in Virgo. And on September 26th, we have our full moon in Aries. So um I don't mean to make this like too quick or too like who cares, whatever, but like um personally, it's just like everything is looking very um like you have room to like plant your seeds to grow them to enjoy. Like I think this would really be a nice like travel month. Like it's like and this might make more sense in the context of when I talk about October and I talk about Venus retrograde. And Venus is going to move into Scorpio on the 10th on that new moon day. So we are, it's not retrograde yet, but this Venus retrograde is going to be in both Scorpio and Libra. It's going to retrograde back from Scorpio into Libra. So it's a bridge connecting Venus retrograde. But overall, I I give September 2 thumbs up. Looking forward to it. It feels like a nice come down after June and after well not end of June, but like July and August being very stir crazy. And maybe it's also because we just keep having um these Mercury retrogrades pretty close to the eclipses. So like I feel like we're getting them like back to back. And it feels like it's real ebbs and flows times. It's not like um I don't know, very all or nothing in some ways. So this feels like another resting point sort of month where we can kind of get our head on straight, take in the information of everything that just transpired and like put it to where we then want to go. I mean, I want to move to October because there's just a lot going on there, but I'd say September, we call it go for it. It's really like the only thing stopping you is you. We don't have any planets to blame in terms of the astrology. So like no excuses. Maybe that's the other thing to go for it. I'm doing parentheses, no excuses. Like, also, if you're listening to this in the beginning of the year, which you probably are, like, can you imagine being all the way to September and you hadn't done what you wanted to do? Like, this is hopefully where you see the goals accumulate. Like, get that shit done by whatever it is that needs to happen by that May, that taking stock. And when you want to see those results by September, whatever it is, if it's something popped in your mind, then that's what it is. Okay, let's get into October because Venus retrograde. She can be a kooky girl. And it's October. And it's probably one of the tougher months of the year. And that kind of sucks because not even kind of sucks. Like, I love October. I'm just an October girl. I love the fall. My anniversary is in October. My chart is going to have a fucking Venus retrograde in it for the year. So we'll see what that means. I have a ton of fights. I mean, the collective, we will definitely be having some relationship conversations because there is not only Venus retrograde starting, but we're going to have Mercury retrograde as well. So I can already hear the well, actually, and you never listen. And I've been asking this already start to ring throughout the land. Big, big, big breakup time. Okay. We'll get into it. So we the first third well first things first, right before Venus retrograde on Saturday, October 3rd, Mercury squaring Mars and Pluto. So that's like pressure point. And then the next day, Venus retrograde begins on October 3rd in the sign of Scorpio. It is going to last until November 13th, 2026, and go back into Libra. I'll update you when that happens. So let's look ahead. Well, before we do, let's talk Venus retrograde in Scorpio. First of all, secrets. Don't you dare think you're going to get away with anything during this time. This can be a real time that we find out about people's maybe double lives, maybe their spending habits. Maybe we got some secret addicts in the club, like people who have been doing a little too much of that Kalshi gambling app. There's a real like, what are you hiding? And so I think if you're listening to this and you already have those suspicions, well, first of all, you don't have to wait till Venus retrograde to get on that shit, but it could really start to fester and come to life come that time. Also, on the flip side, outside of secrets with Scorpio is also about our sexual compatibility. So, I've had some girlfriends over the years, like, if no shade if you are asexual, but if your partner is in and you didn't agree to that arrangement, or if your sexual compatibility is just not there, I don't know, depends on what's important to you. For me, that is important to me in my romantic relationships. I like sexual chemistry and compatibility. So if that was not happening for me, it would be a conversation that would be happening during Venus retrograde. That, like, again, even if you think you're not going to have this convo, I've I've had this so many times with Mercury retrogrades, Venus retrogrades, Mars retrograde, where it's like, oh, that stereotypical thing that's going to happen astrologically sure won't happen to me. And then, of course, and I think that's the thing too, is like a lot of horoscopes and things are written for single people. You can be in like loving, committed relationships and you're still going to have things to talk about. So this could even be like maybe if things have gotten stale or you want to freshen things up or go, give things some new uh zhuzh, if you will. Definitely can be that conversation time. And it for sure will be that conversation time because we have a Mercury Venus conjunction on October 6th. Mercury, not retrograde yet. Venus is retrograde, but Mercury does enter its shadow period on October 4th. So we're already starting to go into like the unspoken, unchartered, can I live with this forever sort of territory. Now, Venus doesn't always have to be about relationships, but this one, because it's connected to Scorpio and Libra, I would be shocked if it wasn't for a lot of people. Of course, it can be about our values and how we connect and our jobs, but I just feel it in my bones. This is about romantic relationships for so many people. Maybe this is our stock market crash. I don't know. It feels too literal. I think it's more about relationships, but never say never. Sometimes the most literal astrology can be about that. Oh, and how else do you know that this is all going to come out and be a big conversation? We got the new moon in Libra on October 10th. Libra connected to Venus, connected to our feelings, connected to our emotions, connected to our relationships, our intentions of what we want. And now that's Venus's retrograde. We can dream a new dream. We can push the reset button. We actually don't have to do this. I saw some meme that was like, because Mad Men is like trending again because it's back on HBO. or not back. It's now on the HBO. And like it's like Betty realizing, she's done with Don, and she was talking to like her single divorce friend, and the divorce friend was like, yeah, it was like easy to leave him once I realized like being alone was basically like the same as being with him, and like raising a kid was like the same. And I think that's something to think about. It's like with Libra in partnership, is there much difference? Are they at could you do this shit alone and better? Like, are you being weighed down actually? And again, for many of us who are in happy, healthy partnerships, where can things feel more equal? Where can things feel more like we both need to agree to compromise or reach this goal? And again, it's not always going to be, you know, part of this will be our part in this too. Okay, moving on. So then we have Mercury retrograde in Scorpio on October 24th. So Mercury goes retrograde on the 24th. It's going to not go direct. Guess what? On November 13th, the same day Venus goes direct. We'll talk about it more in November. The symbolism, it's just too much. I can't. Like, who's breaking up? I'm like, it's so strong. Like, I'm scared. Like, am I getting divorced? Like, this is how like strong and scared that, like, I don't want to say scary, but like, it's like, I just get excited for astrology gossip like this. I'm just like, wow. Like, I think this can be unexpected breakups for sure. Like, of course, there's always going to be breakups, but like, I'm trying to think of like, who would I be so sad? Anyways, you can have fun brainstorming there. So vote in the comments which celebrity breakup would make you the saddest. Um, I think mine would be like Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell, because then everyone would be like, and they weren't even married and blah blah blah. Like the unfortunate think pieces we would get, the absolutely painful things we'll see on Substack if that ever happened. Anyways, I'll get back. We'll talk about November when November gets here. But again, October, November are whammies, whammies, whammies. Okay. Not that we can't have good days in October, November, but the overall energy is let's recalibrate. So Venus goes retrograde, it goes back into Libra on October 25th. October 26th, full moon in Taurus. Yes, full moon in Taurus. Also, what? A Venus related sign. What have you done for me lately? Where is this going? Love should be easy. It's not that hard. It's, every couple has their fights, their spats, but like core disagreements, like take the notes, like it's just complement each other, build something with each other. And I know some of us may have non-conventional relationship or multi-partners, whatever. But either way, this is really about a level of fairness, right? And justice when we bring it back to Libra, and bridging that Scorpio Libra of both the the energy in the sheets and the energy in the streets, behind closed doors and out in public, social Libra style. Like, like it's really about the both in that Scorpio Libra Venus retrograde connection. So I will get back to more of that come November, but that's a big chunk. I mean, also there's like so many aspects going on to Venus and to that Mercury retrograde that it's like it's going to be mined out of us if even if we don't want to talk about it. Would be a great time. I mean, this could be a great time to go to couples therapy. This could be a really great time to just go to regular therapy. This is a time to talk to the girlfriends. Be careful. Uh, both reporter and girlfriends. This is a time to like on your council of women. Like if you've been keeping things close to the chest and secret out of embarrassment, like everyone has things, but knowing like this is why gossip is healthy. This is why gossip keeps us safe because like, and this is why I love TikTok because I just love seeing people be like, my friend did this or this and that. And I'm like, yes, I don't agree. It is the time to just like compare notes of like, hey, like every time, like my partner always does this thing. Do yours is this, and it's and then sometimes your friends will be like, girl, no, what? What a dog. He should be doing this. She should be doing that. They should be doing this. Or they'll be like, yeah, that's so normal. We actually worked through it by doing this. Like, So again, like not everyone's going to be full breakup mode. However, they always happen during Venus retrograde. But it really is just like knowing if you're just willing to put up with some shit and where is the compatibility hitting all angles of the relationship dynamic. More on that come November. Okay, did I even name October? I should. What are we calling October? I just had to get straight into the juicy juice. I'm like, I want to be like, no bullshit. um, um, tough love, honey. It is tough love. That is it. This is back to subverting the energy, right? So like Scorpio Venus retrograde. Scorpio Venus normally secretive, seductive. Ooh, I'm so good and horny. Retrograde. Hey, I've not been good and horny. Actually, I'm going to air out my secrets because I can't bear this any longer. Venus Libra, peaceful, loving, sexy, all is well. Retrograde, bitch. Why am I not getting what I want? I've done everything right. And where is it? And you're allowed to ask all these questions. And we'll get more into it um in November. So tough love, October, especially if after September feels just so free and like what life could be, you know? And October is like, and who are the diapers that are dragging? Who are the wet blankets? You know, like what's bringing down the temperature and the vibe? And you don't have to sign up for battles. That's the other part. Like retrogrades are like, actually, I can quit. Actually, I don't even have to do this. Love. Okay, let's go to November. Okay, let's get back to November. Let's get into November. What cliffhanger, dot. Where do we leave off? Oh, yeah, same fucking vibe as October, except halfway through November, things do lighten up. Um, but we're still moving through the muck that we were in October. And so let's okay, beginning of the month. Let's go beginning. First things first, we're gonna have a Mercury retrograde Kazemi on November 4th. So Kazemi, sun in the heart of Mercury in the heart of the sun. Again, if you haven't had any of these combos, if you're like, oh, get past Halloween and we'll do our couples costumes and go from there. Well, November 4th is maybe a little bit of that. What's up? Oh God, when is the midterms? Whoa, hang on. I have to look this up. Okay, midterms are on November 3rd. I have not looked at that chart yet. We are gonna do it together right now. Ugh, let's see. Well, I don't like a Mercury retrograde or a Venus retrograde, but that could be a recalibration. I mean, it's be kind of weird if there was not like a blue wave. Just not, I don't even need astrology to tell me, me that. Okay. I'm gonna like be hopeful because look, these fuckers have like one. Well, what was last? Hang on. What was November 2024's astrology? Let's do a little compare and contrast. This is how we learn, folks. What day was that? Because it's always like a Tuesday, right? It was the 5th. That day fucking sucked, if you recall. Fucking sucked. Okay, so the moon was in Capricorn in 2024. Moon is in Virgo. Feels like a course correction. The Mercury, was there any Mercury retrograde or Venus retrograde? No, it was in Sag. It's gonna be preachy. And the 0 degree Leo Mars back then. Okay, I'm gonna start. You're hearing a live thing because I haven't really thought about the midterms because the idea of American politics makes me want to AMS. I'm not at risk. Don't worry. I'm just colloquially saying it. I think this could be good. No promises, but because just everyone has just been so vile on every side and like is refusing to like help people. But there's something so on that election day, Jupiter, Mars, and the South Node are all really close together in Leo. And that feels like a power redistribution. And that's what I like to see. So I'm feeling stoked on that. And then it's sextiling that Venus Libra retrograde. It's like there's a lot of positive aspects being made with these retrograde planets. And just that cluster of Leo makes me intrigued. It makes me feel like something can give here in a positive, hopefully more leftist leaning way. Okay. Haven't looked at that yet. So we'll get there when we get there. So back to um I know that makes me want to call November. Well, actually, there's like a correction that does feel very that feels very present there, both in the relationshipy sector stuff and now what I've just talked about, like the political sector stuff. So we have the Mercury Gazemi on the 4th, day after the election. Interesting. Um, Very early morning though, so might probably, feeling that the night before. On November 9th, I think late night the 8th, adjust for your time zones for all these, but we're gonna have a new moon in Scorpio. Again, Mercury still retrograde. The real thing I'm like, whoa, shooketh, is what I mentioned in the October forecast is that Venus and Mercury go direct on the same day, November 13th. Mercury's going to go direct in the morning, and then Venus doesn't go direct until the evening. But those on the same day, those both like that's the light bulb clicking on. Maybe that's also the phrase. It's like light bulb clicks on. Like it's and let's plus or minus, right? Like maybe the days to come before, the days after, but there's some realization that oh my, like all that shit, all the sifting, all the like I don't really actually want to do this, or this isn't really my path, or like I thought that was the path, this, there's just like I could actually go do that. We actually, like, maybe we shouldn't live together, maybe we are better as friends, maybe I want to have your baby, like maybe it's taking a further step. Again, these decisions can be a further going in or a further separation, but it's definitely about clarifying where everything stands. So I feel like November 13th is another, I think, just a big highlight that day. Like what becomes so much clearer, especially from like the 13th onwards. And to maybe I should put this in the October, I would say during Venus retrograde, because it's connected to beauty and love, people you meet during Venus retrograde might not be it. Also, like not recommended for extreme drastic changes in style. It's not the time to be like, maybe I should cut my hair super short, it's not a great time for elective, you know, um, aesthetic surgeries and things. Of course, if you have like life threatening surgeries, like do life, but I wouldn't choose to do. And also back to like, so many people are going to get married during this time. I'm like, wouldn't pick it personally, but sometimes it's the only date. And also, again, symbolically, it's just what's stamped into the birth of your marriage or whatever it is. Babies are born with Venus retrograde and Mercury retrograde. I know plenty of fabulous people who are born with Venus retrograde in their chart, but can themes around money and love maybe be lifelong themes they're working through? Possibly. So I think that's the thing to think about when we elect dates. We're just trying to like give our give our everything our best shot. What is good, or a little more of a bonus, is we get more time with Venus and Libra, and she loves being in Libra, so that's cute. Um, to wash away all the wildness that we've experienced, we will have a full moon in Gemini on November 24th. That feels like the real reset after October, November time. And then Mercury is going to leave its post retrograde shadow phase on November 29th. So November is the light bulb clicks on. Things should hopefully be coming more into vision. And also, too, we'll talk about in December. Our Decembers have been so like cuckoo bananas retrograde, and it's kind of like it's one of our clear months. And I can't believe we're rounding home to talk about 2026 as I'm here in early 2026 thinking like how can years and times go on, and that means that then after that it'll be 2027 and that'll be 2028 and there'll be a presidential election year and then it'll be 2029. Anyways, I really signed up for an interesting job and business, having to think about time all the time, but I do love it. So with that said, I hope all your light bulbs click on in November, and let's look at the last month of 2026. We're here in December 2026. And December is weirdly clear. There is some like bumps, meaning some like kind of major square action. Um, which again, once we get there, we'll talk about it in the monthlies. But December, like, is I'm gonna call it one last push, mainly because just looking ahead, I know it's already like, what do you mean 2027? But we don't start the new year with any personal planet retrogrades in 2027. However, on January 10th, 2027, we do have a Mars retrograde, and that's going to go all the way to April 1st. So, like, the beginning of 2027 is pretty slow and retracing some steps, especially in like that Virgo E energy. Does it change? Does it go back into, oh, it goes back into Leo. Oh, and it hits the South Node. I haven't looked at 2027 much because I'm just focusing on 2026. I see, I see. So it's gonna go Leo, a Leo Mars. Okay, copy that. Was just curious. So the new, 2027 is gonna have a slower start, but so I that's why I think December is like a really great month to just keep moving ahead and like planting those seeds and getting ready for 2027, since 2027 is going to need more help, at least in the beginning, than it might be able to offer. So just going through, we have a new moon in Sagittarius on December 8th, 2026. We also, our Venus retrograde shadow ends on December 15th. It's already been direct, but like now we're really out of that territory of reflection, if you will, though Venus is still moving through Scorpio. And I feel like once it's really out of the sign is when we can really wind the things down. And then we will have a full moon in Cancer, our second full moon in Cancer of the year on December 23rd. So we started this year with a full moon in Cancer on January 3rd, and now we're really full circling back all the way to the end. So it feels like a real end cap. Looking at the beginning of the years, it feels so like very literal, like New Year's Eve goals and like looking back and what can really like how much can get done in a calendar year and where do you see yourself? And so that's why it's like I think December is, well, it's not without its like growing pains. It definitely is, I would say, a clearer month compared to the clears and the clunkies. And this clear month definitely gives room to like get you just sort of set up for next year. So hopefully maybe you don't have to like all out sprint and you can like take your time, do things right, and have like a slower pace um than what you were feeling. We had, now I just need to go back and check because I'm thinking too far ahead from 2027, but I think it's worth bringing up for future reflection. Okay, so we had in 2024 into 2025, we had that Mars retrograde in both um, Leo and Cancer. So this is again another Mars retrograde in Leo. So going back to the themes that we felt back in November, even as early as November 2024, all the way into April 2025. So that time period sort of being re-illuminated in 2027, martially speaking, Mars wise, but also introducing a new terrain with Virgo. So, yeah, not to like run out of steam, but that's kind of it. um, also just want to note, we're in this minor grand trine of the outer planets forever, which is where we have, let me go back and just look so I can relay this clearly. Yeah, Uranus trining Pluto, Uranus sextiling Neptune, Neptune sextiling Pluto. So we just have this real supported configuration of the outer planets that is really just about the newness and evolving and going for it and risk taking. And I think that is like the background noise for this year. This year is also a 1 year. 2 + 2 + 6 = 10, which equals one in numerology. So ones are about us and self and starting. It's also once we have the Aquarius new moon, that is our lunar new year, and that's where we have the uh, Chinese New Year, and so that's where we'll become the year of the fire horse. So that's and that starts with the eclipse. Looking back, right? Yeah, I think so. Yeah, February 17th. Whoa, fire horse starts as an eclipse kickoff. So it's real gas in the tank. Like 2026 has a lot, while there's still a lot of processing and kind of acknowledging what is in the past and what is never coming back. There's also such room to like really play. And because there's so much unknown and uncharted territory, you can again really make up the rules as you go and just make sure you're not being a dick, while you're doing it. So wow. I'm tired. That was a lot. I am looking forward to 2026. This is gonna be my year. I'm calling it. I think it'll be your year too. So if you're here, if you listen to all this, come join the third space, become a paid subscriber. You obviously like this. Come on now. There's more where that came from. I will see you and be your happy to guide, celestial guide, all of 2026 and beyond. As long as you'll have me, I'll be here with you. And yeah, follow me on the stuff. See you around. Please comment and let's talk about 2026 in the chat. Love to dive deep in the chat about predictions, what we think is going to happen, how we're feeling about 2026. And with that, I'm complete. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.